Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be diving into the brainwave states and how they tie in metaphysically, physically, with reality and our experiences. So from a previous video, if you haven't seen the last two videos I've made over on YouTube, you should definitely check them out, watch all of them. I've been getting very positive results from everybody, from the collective, so go check it out. There's a lot of understanding in there. I'm going to give a little bit of a crash course over some stuff, but for a deeper understanding, what you need to know is that the wave is love, is unconditional love, which is equal to free will, which is equal to infinite potential energy. You cannot have unconditional love without free will. You cannot have free will without infinite potential energy. This equation right here is proof that the metaphysical and the physical are intimately tied together. So we're going to keep this in mind moving forward. As you can see, these are all the brainwave states. I'm not going to go through all of them. Hopefully you can see them. But the significance of these brainwave states is, so whenever we are going throughout our life at work and things like that, we are typically in the beta brainwave state. When you go on break, you're probably sitting here in the alpha range. Whenever you're in theta, this is whenever you just barely even slip below, like you're barely trying to enter into theta and you get into theta. And then of course delta is like your deep sleep. And once you get in meditation, once you go deeper than delta, you reach this gamma state, which is a high level info processing. Your brain processes, look at this. So there is a higher level of beta. That's whenever you're in survival mode, right? So 30 to 100 hertz. I promise you the high level beta is not 100 hertz. So it is a high level info processing. Quantum physics, info is light, information. I'm sure some of y'all know what the Schumann resonance is. 7.83 hertz. That is right. Our brain waves are on the same frequency of the Earth. But not only of the Earth, but if you barely even try, you get in tune with the Earth, which, as we have discussed in previous videos, the Earth is infinite potential, which is also unconditional love, which is free will, which is also intuition. It's the unseen. This explains the significance of meditation. Science can say, oh yes, we can see that the Earth and the theta brainwave are within the same range, so obviously you're in tune with the Earth in some way. But metaphysically, we describe that as tapping into Earth itself, tapping into infinite potential energy itself, tapping into the unconditional love and the ability to express yourself freely. Because remember, free will is infinite potential energy. It's all one thing. You cannot have one without the other. So while the theta tunes in to when you barely have to even try to tune into unconditional love, but whenever you do try, not only do you have access to the unconditional and infinite potential energy, you start to perceive it. I know you've been staring at this right here. This right here happens to be what I believe is a fairly accurate representation of the wave-particle duality in a two-dimensional space. So obviously the particle, the wave, infinite, and so on. So that is going to be my segue into the next segment, which is where I have an actual demonstration of what I believe to be fairly accurate of how exactly the human experience is put together. I happened to discover it while playing with those little magnetic toys. All right, so I have here some magnetic kids toys, and it is on this Ferris wheel mechanism thing, whatever you want to call it. This right here, you can obviously see where this is going. It looks a lot like our particle, dot in the middle, circle on the outside. That is the two-dimensional representation. Now watch this. I'm barely moving this, right? Now you'll be able to probably see it a little clearer because try to keep up with the outside edges. It's inconceivable, isn't it? So as we observe through the unconditional love equals free will equals infinite potential energy, we determined that what we perceive physically is reflected metaphysically. So on the middle, we have the slowed down particle. On the outside, we have the very hard to perceive, almost invisible, unconditional love that is fueling everything, every perceived particle. So now let's take a look at it in three-dimensional, because after all, we are 3D beings. Look at that. Now let's turn it. I dare you to try and keep up with every single potential within that area. Now expand it in your mind to a sphere. Now make it move faster. You are an infinite potential wave condensed down to your limiting beliefs. You are consciousness aka the creator, viewed through the lens of limiting beliefs. The energy is trying to flow, but you have this weight inside of you. This is how you can physically see what people mean by you can do anything you set your mind to, right here. This symbol is what I would consider the cleanest, closest thing to resembling intelligent infinity. Intelligent infinity. This is the closest thing I could think of to depicting a three-dimensional concept on a two-dimensional plane. What does this look like? This looks an awfully lot like a flower, which is obviously the flower of life, reflected in the symbol for intelligent infinity, which is also reflected in the wave-particle duality, because this is the particle and this is the wave. This is the wave, this is the particle. These wave comes together to an understanding of wisdom. Infinite potential collapsed down to your limiting beliefs, observed by consciousness. These are your limiting beliefs. You are, in fact, intelligent infinity observing life. Your experiences have built you to who you are, and this is you. On the macro, on the micro, it's reflected everywhere. How can we use this information to become stronger? Well, as we dissolve these limiting beliefs, these beliefs that are catching the energy and creating the human experience and everything that we are, we start to get rid of this aspect physically. We start to transcend the body, eventually to the point where you don't need it anymore. The parallels are everywhere, guys. Tell me what you think.